The chamber of the High Council of the Dominion of Sol was shrouded in silence when Admiral Corvin raised his fist and brought it down against the command table with enough force to crack the reinforced glass. Translucent shards leapt like dying stars as his voice thundered through the circular hall with the fury of 1,000 restrained storms. 153 ships, 153 crews, 17,000 souls who departed, trusting in the technological superiority we swore to possess. And now we have only 147 traumatized survivors telling stories of primitive aliens who destroyed light with their bare hands. He turned sharply toward the floating hologram, displaying the serene rotation of Kael'dris. Indifferent to the human blood spilled in its orbit, can anyone in this room explain to me how a race that worships crystals and sings to its ships managed to annihilate the greatest war fleet the Dominion has ever assembled? The silence that followed weighed heavier than the gravity of a black hole. Then Ambassador Lyra Vek, representative of the Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds, rose slowly from her chair. Her voice was controlled, measured, but it carried a steel edge that cut deeper than any scream. Admiral Corvin, the Dominion of Sol signed the Mutual Non-Aggression Treaty only 18 Earth months ago. The KAEDRYN are protected members of the Alliance. The attack on Kael'dris was never authorized by the Central Council. It was a direct violation of the interstellar accords that preserve peace among 57 distinct civilizations. She paused, letting each word sink like leaden anchors. And now you demand vengeance? Vengeance for an act of aggression that you yourselves initiated? Corvin pivoted on his heel with weapon-like precision. His eyes, once stormy, now gleamed with calculated coldness. The ambassador seems to forget that the KAEDRYN used weapons defying every known law of physics. They destroyed holographic projections, Ambassador. Projections, not solid matter, not real ships, pure light. How? With what technology? With what weapon? He took a step forward, the projection light casting angular shadows across a face carved by decades of command. Or perhaps the Alliance already knew the KAEDRYN held military capabilities far beyond what your official reports suggested. Perhaps the Alliance deliberately withheld that information to keep the Dominion controllable. The air in the room grew electrically charged. 3 of the 5 High Councillors exchanged uneasy glances. Military Councillor Thane leaned forward, fingers interlaced like talons poised to strike. The ambassador must understand our position. This is not irrational vengeance. It is institutional survival. The colonies demand answers. The families of the lost crews are rioting in the streets of Helion Prime, burning effigies of the Council. Fleet senators are calling for investigations into why we deployed warships with obsolete intelligence. If we fail to show strength, if we fail to prove the Dominion still has military relevance, we'll lose not only galactic prestige but control over our own populations. Lyra inhaled deeply, watching the political board unfold before her like a 3-dimensional chess game, where each piece hid invisible traps. So your solution is what exactly? A second invasion? A retaliatory strike that will escalate into a total war against a civilization protected by the Alliance, one that will erase decades of diplomacy in a matter of days. Her voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. Are you aware that half the allied races maintain cultural or economic ties with the KAEDRYN? Attacking them again would mean diplomatic isolation, economic sanctions. You would stand alone against 56 civilizations suddenly justified in labeling you unstable aggressors. Corvin smiled, but there was no humor in that expression, only the cold recognition of someone who knew all cards were already played. The ambassador underestimates our capacity to form new alliances. The Zarthanos of the Veil Crown are not members of the Galactic Alliance. They too seek the Aeon signals that the KAEDRYN guard so jealously. We've already begun preliminary talks. He paused, letting the revelation explode like a grenade at the table's center. And the Zarthanos command fleets that make our 300 ships look insignificant. Lyra's face visibly paled. You wouldn't dare. The Zarthanos are violent expansionists. They respect no treaties, no sentient life beyond their own kind. Ally with them, and you're selling your souls for a moment's power that will inevitably turn against you. Councillor Thane rose, her voice slicing through the air like a freshly honed blade. Souls do not pay blood debts, Ambassador. The Zarthanos have offered us cutting-edge technology in exchange for joint access to KAEDRYN territory after conquest. specifically Aeon energy detection tech. It will let us finally see what they see, feel what they feel, and level the battlefield that slaughtered us. She approached the holographic planet and touched a sequence of controls. Kael'dris vanished, replaced by technical schematics of weapons that seemed to grow. Half machine, half living organism. These are the Umbral Lances, developed by the Guild of Engines in secret partnership with Zarthanos engineers. They do not fire projectiles. They fire negation, the antithesis of energy. Where the Aeon current flows, the Umbral Lances create absolute void. Lyra stepped back involuntarily, horror etched across a face trained for diplomatic neutrality. Are you speaking of weapons that destroy the spiritual essence of an entire civilization? That's not war. It's existential genocide. Her voice trembled for the first time. And you truly believe the Alliance will remain passive while you commit atrocities of that magnitude? Corvin took a step forward, positioning himself between her and the door, not blocking the way, but letting the implicit threat linger like toxic smoke. The Alliance will do what it always does: issue public condemnation, impose symbolic sanctions, and secretly breathe relief that someone handled their KAEDRYN problem. Because we all know the truth no one dares to say aloud, the KAEDRYN have direct access to at least 3 of the 12 Aeon signals. If they ever turned that power offensive instead of defensive, half the known galaxy would fall within weeks. The Alliance needs someone to neutralize that threat, and they'll feign outrage while we do their dirty work. The silence that fell was as dense as Jupiter's atmosphere, its gravity pressing on everyone in the room. Lyra finally found her voice, distant and hollow, as if echoing from a tunnel with no end. So it's done. I'm not here to negotiate. I'm here to be informed. It wasn't a question. Thane nodded once, precise as a falling guillotine. The Dominion of Sol formally withdraws from the Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds, effective immediately. Our new alliance with the Veil Crown will be announced within 48 hours. The Kael'dris reclamation operation launches in 72. And this time, Ambassador, there will be no holograms, no illusions. Only the Umbral Lances, forever silencing the spiritual song they wield as a weapon. She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. Unless, of course, the Alliance wishes to intervene militarily to protect its so-called protégé. But we both know that won't happen. Intervention would mean revealing their own battle fleets, their own secret weapons, and exposing the hypocrisy of an alliance preaching peace while hoarding arsenals capable of vitrifying star systems. Lyra turned to go, then stopped at the threshold. Without looking back, she spoke one last time, her words carrying the quiet weight of prophecy, the tone of one who sees the future collapsing but cannot stop it. You are beginning a war you cannot win. The KAEDRYN do not fight with ships or weapons as you understand them. They fight with the Aeon current, with the energy connecting all living consciousness. And your Umbral Lances? By creating void where the current flows, you won't just be attacking the KAEDRYN. You'll be wounding the very fabric sustaining sentient life in this galaxy. Her hand lingered on the sealed door. And when the current responds, when Elia, Sarai, and Kaur feel the wound you've carved into the cosmos, no alliance, no technology, no weapon will save you from the correction to come. She left. The door sealed behind her with a definitive silence. For long seconds, the 5 counselors and Admiral Corvin remained motionless. Then the science counselor, who had stayed silent throughout, finally spoke, his voice carrying the doubt none of the others dared voice. And what if she's right? What if the Umbral Lances really damage the fabric of the Aeon current itself? Our own psychics have already reported increasing disturbances since the prototypes were activated. 3 fell into permanent catatonia after prolonged exposure to the negation fields. Corvin turned slowly, fatigue breaking through the armor of authority he wore. Then we die trying to level the battlefield. Because the alternative is living with the knowledge that a race exists with power we cannot understand, cannot replicate, and cannot defeat, and that alternative is unacceptable. He looked around the room, meeting each counselor's eyes. You have 72 hours to ready your divisions. Mobilize all reserve fleets, activate every Zarthanos mercenary contract. And may the gods we abandoned centuries ago, when we embraced technology, have mercy on our souls, because the KAEDRYN certainly won't. The meeting adjourned. The counselors dispersed like shadows retreating from a new dawn. Corvin stood alone before the hologram of the Umbral Lances, contemplating weapons that promised either victory or annihilation, with no middle ground. And somewhere far across the black void of space, the planet Kael'dris kept turning in serenity, its golden temples glowing with light not born of stars, its priests singing prayers that echoed through the Aeon current, sensing the storm to come yet, unafraid. For they knew something the humans had yet to learn through blood and ashes. Some wars are not won with weapons, they are won with understanding. And the Dominion of Sol had just chosen armed ignorance over disarmed wisdom. A choice that would cost more than worlds. It would cost the very future of two entwined civilizations, human and KAEDRYN.